Welcome everyone to week 2 of Business Information Systems course. This week we are going to do an in-depth exploration of what are the building blocks of information systems. Learning objectives for this week focus on the following key points. First, we will try to understand what are the building blocks of information systems. So these include people, process, hardware, software, data, and finally network. We'll analyze each one of them in detail to understand how these different building blocks combine together to make an information system. Next, we will explore what are different types of information systems. So it is really important to understand these different types because depending on the business process and goals of the organization, we need to deliver a relevant information system as well. Next, we will try to understand what are different departmental roles and responsibilities of information systems key management professionals. So for example, people who are at the executive level, so C-level executives, for example, Chief Information Security Officer, Chief Information Officer, Chief Data Officer. So how these different roles have different responsibilities, but they come together to deliver again the information system solutions in the end. And finally, we'll try to understand what are different contemporary approaches to conceptualize information systems. What I will say at this stage is information systems is a multidisciplinary field. There are different disciplines that combine together, and then we can explain what are information systems. So there is a high focus from the technology side. Same we can say from the behavior side as well, because once you deploy technology in the organization, it will impact the way employees or people behave in the organization. And then there can be a social impact as well. So all of these different fields have a role to play in order to conceptualize information systems, and we'll do that in today's lecture. Okay, so before I go into the contents of the lecture, so this is the only opportunity that I get to engage with you. So I would like to take this opportunity to make some announcements first. First, I will say that all the timetable queries, I have created an announcement for that as well. So all the timetable queries regarding your classes, the practical classes, need to go to Business Connect because all of the teaching team, including myself, doesn't um, make timetable changes or allocate times to you as well. So you need to direct all of your queries regarding change in the workshop to Business Connect. Second thing is whenever you are writing an email or a message, please write a subject as well. So this gives us an indication of what the email is about. So make it a habit because it is a very good practice. The third point that I want to discuss is around sending email on the mentioned email address, which is bizinfosystems@rmit.edu.au. So you can send Canvas message as well, but I would prefer that if you send all of your queries and questions to this email so that we can reply to you promptly. So this is a shared email address which is shared by different people. So if I am not available, someone else can reply, but I am the main person who is going to reply you on this email. The last thing that I will mention is I haven't seen any lecture queries from week 1 in the discussion forum. So this is either an indication that you understood all the contents, which is really good. But if you have any question or if you want to give any comments on the contents, you can go to discussion forum and under the lecture queries discussion forum, please mention your questions or mention your comments. In today's lecture, I am going to give you a task and you need to go to discussion forum to finish that task as well. So we'll go into the detail of what you need to do, but this is from the engagement and experience perspective. We need to have some kind of engagement with each other in terms of when I'm delivering some lecture to you, you need to reflect back on it and then try to engage with me in terms of how you have received the contents in the end. And we'll try to use discussion forum because we are not doing it live. So we'll try to use discussion forum as a platform to do the engagement and make it a unique experience in the end. Okay, so in terms of building blocks of the information systems, I talked about these six, and again, I'm going to repeat them here. So we'll start from exploring people, then process, hardware, software, data, and network. So there is a reason that I have structured these six key blocks in this way. When I say it's starting from people, this has a meaning behind it. So this means that the people perspective is the main starting point because these are the individuals or stakeholders who run the business, and for that they need to perform or maybe design core business operations. So these operations can be classified as business processes. So for example, there is a payroll process in the organization, there is a customer support process in the organization. So all of these different processes needs to be defined, and then it needs to be implemented. So once you are going to implement this process, you need some kind of hardware that will give you the foundational infrastructure, and then you will implement software on top of it. So software is something that will give instructions to the hardware and it will fulfill the task from that perspective. So once we generate or maybe run a software on the hardware, that will generate data, and that's why I put data here. So we've gone into the detail of what data is from the definitional perspective, but what it means to be a building block of information systems, we'll explore that today. And finally, information systems needs to communicate with each other as well. So this is where the network part is really important. So if we want to establish communication between different information systems or different devices in the organization, so this is where we need to establish or implement a communication network. And we'll go into the detail of how that network works. But first, depending on your own interest, you can focus on one of the building block here in terms of you want to develop your expertise in that area, or you can do a combination as well. But in in my example, so my focus and background is in the data side because I have been a consultant as a business analytics consultant. So my focus from the information systems building blocks has been mostly on the data side and how people use data to make informed decisions. And this is how I will link different building blocks together. So if you are more interested in the technology side, so you can focus on hardware. If you have more interest in terms of how different electronic part of the computer work, but if you're more interested in coding or designing softwares or interacting with the operating systems, for example Windows or Mac, so you can focus on the software here. Or if you want to build gaming applications, different kind of applications that run on the hardware, so you can focus on again the software side. So depending on the interest, I would emphasize from the start of the lecture today that you think about what your interest is so that you can link it with the building block of information system, and then you go in that direction, build your expertise in that building block, and then try to relate it with the others. So this is how I will guide you to look at these building blocks, because all of these combine together to make an information system in the end. So the first building block is people, and this include all resources in the organization that develop, manage, and use information systems to help organizations create value and improve productivity. So there are different kind of people that we can categorize here, starting from the end users. So end users are those who use an information systems who use an information system or the information it produces to perform a job function, or a task. So in your case, in the workshop side of this course, you are using Excel spreadsheet. So you are the end user in this case who is using that spreadsheet to manipulate data and perform business analytics. So this is a very good example of the end user. The second example can be if you are using the Microsoft Word or word processing software. Again, you are the end user who is using the application. And this is what an end user means: the person or the people who use an information system or the information it produces to perform their job or fulfill their task in the end. The second type is information systems specialists. So this is a very broad, you can say, categorization here, and it includes different kind of people who are involved in developing and operating information systems. So for example, system analysts. So these are the people who think about an information system and try to design it as well. Then application programmers. So these are the coders who code um, an application and then that performs different tasks and do different kind of work for different people. And finally, computer operators. So these are the people who operate different kind of machines, also acts as an administrator or looks after the different systems as well. So IS specialists are broader category here, and it includes all the different people who develop and operate information systems in the end. And the final category is business professionals. So business professionals here mean that all of the people in the business side who use information systems to perform their job function or do their daily work that they are assigned to. So for example, chief executive officers or business owners, managers, employees use information systems to do their daily work, and that can then fit into different functional areas that we discussed for an organization. So for example, a person who is in the accounting side will fulfill their task assigned in that function. Similarly, for marketing, sales, human resource, support team, and from the customer side, customer relationship management professionals. So all of the people from the business side who need to use these systems to do their daily operations. So these are different categories of people which which you can say, which use information systems, and depending on how you interact with them, they will have different understanding of the information system. So for example, an end user wouldn't know the complexity in terms of how complex the system is, but they are using the system in the end to perform their task. But the system builder, in terms of IS specialists, will understand some kind of complexity in terms of how much complex it was to build the system, but they are providing uh, this solution to the end user so that they can consume that solution and perform their work in the end. And similarly, the business professionals. So these are the professionals who will set the requirements for the information system. So for example, marketing or sales will say we need this kind of information to be captured, and we need this kind of information to make decisions on. So that will lay the foundation of what kind of information system need to be developed so that these specific requirements of these business professionals can be met through those information systems. So the next building block of information systems is process. And a business process is a series of steps undertaken to achieve a desired outcome or goal. So businesses have to continually innovate to either create more revenues through new products and services that fulfill their customer needs, or to find cost saving opportunities in the ways they run their companies. So simply automating activities using technology is not enough, and that is why information systems are becoming more and more integrated with organizational processes to deliver value to the organization, to help them gain competitive advantage, and also to bring more efficiencies and perform the organizational processes in a more efficient way. So for that, organization needs to develop some standardized processes And the examples, for example, business process management is a critical and standard process in many organizations today. Business process re-engineering has a role to play as well. So enterprise resource planning, customer relationship management. So all of these are, you can say, standardized business process that every business need to do in order to achieve their desired outcome or goal. So let us explore each one of them in a little bit of detail. So what business process management mean? It's a disciplined approach to improve a business process from end to end by analyzing it, modeling how it works in different scenarios, executing improvements, monitoring the improved process, and continually optimizing it. So business process management is a very specialized field within information systems, and it focuses mostly on the core business processes. So the core business processes are the ones which make a business operational, and then to improve performance or to optimize those processes, the business process management is the way or the mechanism to do it. Business process reengineering involves the radical redesign of core business processes to achieve dramatic improvements in productivity or cycle times or quality of that process. So, for example, whenever an organization moves from paper-based operations to online, or you can say non-paper based process, so this requires reengineering of the process. So this is a good example of business process reengineering. Next, moving on to enterprise resource planning. So this is how an organization manages and integrates business processes through a single system. So enterprise resource planning, or in short what we say is ERP, has different kind of modules or solutions that organizations can use to perform their business operations, and all of these business operations are the core one that they do to run their business. And finally, CRM is, in terms of process, is a business strategy that helps companies better identify and understand their customers. So the goal of the CRM process is to improve the company's marketing efforts, for example, product development, customer service, and sales in the end. So what's the aim here is, what we want to do is, businesses put these kind of operations or processes in place in order to improve their overall understanding of the business, but also to gain deeper understanding of what they are selling as a product, what services they can improve, and this is covered under the business process part of information system. So the next building block that we are going to explore is the hardware, and hardware represents the physical component of an information system. So some of them you can see very easily and touch them as well, while others reside inside a device and that cannot be seen very easily, and you need to open up a device to see those. So see this picture that I'm showing you here, and deliberately I haven't mentioned the names here. So what I want you to do first is, I think that you may know all of them, but just take a piece of paper and list down the names of all of these very, very easy to identify devices, and list down the names. And then we will discuss the um, understanding around these hardware in the next slide. Okay, so let's see how many did you get right. And um, I'm hoping that you got all of these right because they are very easy to identify. So just coming back to the point that some of the components of the hardware are very easy to see and they are visible, but some of them are not. So in this example, if you consider monitor, mouse, external drive, even laptop itself or printer, so you can identify them, they are very visible and you can categorize them. But within the printer, within the CPU, the central processing unit, and even laptop, there are hardware components that we cannot see and they are not visible. For example, motherboard or the random access memory, RAM. So all of these are other hardware components which are attached to these devices, and they are also critical in making that whole hardware or making it as a whole machine on which the information systems run. So just a key takeaway from the hardware side is you need to understand that there are different kind of hardwares that needs to get connected, and then you can perform a certain operation. So for example, if I want to draw a diagram, I need to connect a mouse to the central processing unit CPU or laptop, and then it's more easy to draw diagram. So a keyboard needs to be connected to type words. If I want to use the Microsoft Word and write an essay, a keyboard needs to be connected, or I can use the keypad of the laptop. So hardware connected to other, you can say hardware equipment needs to be there. All of them needs to be there to perform the function or to perform the task. Okay, so we'll move on to the next part, which is software in the next slide. So software is a set of instructions that tell the hardware what to do. So this is kind of a very um, critical utilization. So if we want to utilize the hardware, we need to pass instructions to it. So this is how we pass instructions to it, by writing a software. So software is a set of instructions that tell the hardware what to do. So software is not tangible like hardware, and it cannot be touched, and programmers or application developers create softwares and programs by following specific process to enter a list of instructions, and in the end that tells the hardware what to do. So if you are interested in interacting with the hardware, computer hardware, and you want to perform different kind of tasks on it, and if your interest in is from that domain, so you can write instructions to tell the computer what to do, and these instructions can be at very basic level. So these are very low level coding languages that you can use to interact with the hardware, or you can use high level languages as well, which in the end translate into low level language and then interact with the computer or hardware in the end. So in terms of software, there are two different categories. One is system software and the other is application software. So in terms of system software, it's in very layman terms, it's the operating system which controls and supports the operations of the computer system. So just consider this diagram. So what I'm suggesting here is you have hardware. On that hardware, you need to have an operating system in place. So in your laptop, what you do, you first install the Windows or the Mac operating system, and then install applications on top of it. So applications are the programs that direct process a particular that are used to process different kind of, you can say, applications for a particular use of computer by the end user. So examples such as sales analysis program, a payroll program, or word processor program. And similarly in your workshops when you're using Excel spreadsheets. So all of these are application softwares. And then the end user interacts with that application and perform their tasks in the end. So the basic idea again is hardware needs an operating system that that you first need to install on top of it. Once you have that operating system, then you can install further applications on top of it, which we call application software, and then end user interacts with the application software and then perform their task in the end. The next building block that we are covering is the most important one, and which has the most demand in current age is data. And we defined data in the previous lecture as well. So data are the raw facts that describe the characteristics of an event or objects. You can think data as a collection of non-disputable raw facts. So just to give you an example, your first name, your driver license number, the city you live in, a picture of your pet, a clip of your voice, and your phone number. All these are pieces of raw data. So you can see or hear about this data, but by themselves, they don't give you any additional meanings beyond the data itself. Another example can be you can read a driver license number of a person. You may recognize is a, you may recognize it as a driver license number because of the number of digits that you see, but you know nothing about that person. So typically what we do in information systems when it go to a stage of analyzing data to make sense of it, we try to integrate different sources together. This is what we call data integration, and then this then leads up to a more clear picture of making sense through data. So once you aggregate data, you index data, or you arrange it in a logical fashion using different software. So in your case, for example, the data that you're manipulating in the Excel spreadsheet is a good example of performing different operations on top of it. And this is how you convert that data into information and then later on in knowledge. So the same idea that we covered last time from the information hierarchy perspective. So we have data that's the raw fact that describe an event and not organized in any way. So once you convert that data into a meaningful and useful context, that becomes an information. And once you use that information to understand, build your experience, gain insights, build your intuition, so that contextualized information then develops your knowledge in the end. So just from the information systems perspective, if you remember the definition from the previous lecture, it's focused on helping organizations or the decision makers to make informed or evidence-based decision. And this is where data has a key role to play. So data becomes the foundation for that whole process to start. And then based on the manipulation of the data, we generate insights, and then the decision makers consume those insights to make informed or evidence-based decisions in the end. So then now coming to the final building block of information systems that we are going to cover today, and that is network. And just consider network is the medium that enables communication between different information systems. So just by seeing at this picture, you can see that different devices are connected through a network, and the network is enabling communication between them. So a good example is internet. So any device that is connected to internet has the ability to communicate with other connected devices with the internet as well. So in terms of very basic idea, in terms of understanding it from the information system building block, a network is the medium through which we enable communication between the information systems. At this stage, I'm not going into the detail of the network because that's a whole different field that you can explore later. But just to give you an understanding of how it fits in the information system building block um, concept. So it's very critical because a standalone information system is not that much productive to an organization. You need to connect systems through a network so that they can communicate with each other, and that's how an organizational business process become operational, and then different devices can talk with each other, and we can perform tasks in an optimal manner. To finish our discussion around the building blocks of information systems, I am going back to the same configuration of the building blocks that we started with, but here I have color coded them in a different way, and there is a meaning behind it. So far in our discussion, we haven't used the word technology in detail and discussed it from the information system perspective. So what I'm trying to do here is to communicate to you where does technology play a role and what influence technology have on which of the building blocks. So all of the building blocks in the diagram here, which are in dark blue, are impacted by the technology, and those two which are in red, which are people and process, doesn't have that technology, you can say, angle to it directly. So starting from a very basic level, the technology can be thought of as the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes. So we use technology to build hardware, and then technology is always involved in the software side as well. So you need platforms, or you can say applications, to record data. So technology plays a role there as well. and technology also plays a role in network. So for example, we are talking about 5G technology these days from the mobile uh, cellular networks. So all of these components that I have discussed now have a clear role of technology in terms of their implementation. But when it comes to people and processes, so these are the two components that deliver value to organizations in how they use the collection of technologies to meet specific goals of the organization. So people are the consumers of technology, and they are going to be impacted by the technology as well. And the process is where we are deploying technology to automate the process, to improve the process or optimize it. So this is most probably the application of the technology rather than directly influenced by the technology. So the key message here is you need to understand not all of the building blocks of information systems are influenced or have a direct need of technology to exist, but technology plays a role in terms of its influence on the people and process side as well, in terms of what impacts it create on them, what kind of um, changes we need to do in order to adopt that technology or in order to utilize that technology in its best possible way so that we can perform the organization operations in the end. So this is where I will finish the discussion around building blocks of information systems, and we'll move on to now explore what are the different types of information systems. Okay, so now coming to the different types of information systems, and the way I have categorized them is into three different categories. So the first one is transaction processing systems, second one is management information systems, and the third one is decision support systems. And within decision support systems, there are analytical systems or machine learning or artificial intelligence based systems. So we'll explore each one of them, but the manner in which we'll explore them is by understanding or categorizing again different management level of the organization. So typically an organization is arranged in three different levels. The most detailed, or you can say most lowest level, is the operational management level. The second one, where most of the brainstorming and you can say design level work is done, is at the tactical management level, and where we strategize about the business or define the vision of the business or discuss the mission of the business. So this is the highest level in that case, which is the strategic management lecture or sorry level. So in terms of decision making that these different levels do, so operational management has a very structured approach to decision making because the business rules are very well defined at that stage. But at the tactical management level, they kind of have semi-structured approach or structure for decision making. There are some rules, but there are some open, you can say, situations as well where there isn't any rule and they need to come up with a decision. Um, but the strategic management level is highly unstructured. So because this involves a lot of planning and the time horizon in which the decision um, is structured. So for example, it's usually in years to plan about the business. The time horizon is so much large that the decision in the end is very unstructured in nature. And again, we'll map what kind of systems are used to make decisions at each of the level here. So for example, decision support systems are usually used in it at the strategic management level. The combination of decision support systems and management information systems is used at the tactical management level, and then the transaction processing systems are specifically used in the operational management level. So let us explore them in a little bit of more detail. So transaction processing systems are used to record day-to-day business transactions of an organization. So they are used by user at operational management level. The main objective of a transaction processing system is to answer routine questions such as how many printers were sold today, how much inventory do we have at hand, so what is the outstanding due for customer name John. So we can think about these kind of routine questions. So by recording the day-to-day business transactions, transaction processing systems provide answer to you can say easily defined questions in a timely manner. But the decisions made by operational managers, um, because they are very routinely in nature, so that's why they are highly structured, and information produced from the transaction processing system is also very detailed. So in order to give you some examples of transaction processing systems, so point of sale systems that record daily sales. So once you go to Kohl's or Woolies and you scan each of the items that you purchase, so that's a point of sale system, and each item that you scan is a single line item in that transaction. So the receipt that you get at the end has each line item, and then you get the whole order in terms of receipt in the end. So this is what a point of sale system do. It captures transaction on the spot. Another example can be payroll system, so processing salaries of the employees, loans in the banking area, or even the stock control system, so keeping track of inventory level, how stock is inventory level is going up and down. Another classical example of transaction processing system can be the flight bookings. So once you log on to any of the airline provider website and you make a booking, so that system that is recording the booking is also a transaction processing system. So this is like very comprehensive coverage of what transaction processing systems are. So transaction processing systems play a role in terms of business analytics as well. So they become the source of data that we use and integrate in order to, you can say, use that data to make informed decisions. So these kind of systems are very, very critical in order to make a repository or you can say in order to make um, in order to transform that raw data that these systems are capturing into more, you can say, consumable form that is easily used by the management to make decisions. So when it comes to management information systems, so these are used by technical managers to monitor the organization's current performance status. So the output from a transaction processing system is used as an input to a management information processing system. So the management information systems analyzes the input with routine algorithms, for example, aggregate, compare, and summarize the results to produce reports that technical managers use to monitor, control, and predict future performance. So for example, input from a point of sale system can be used to analyze trends of a product that are performing well and those that are not performing well. So this information then can be used to make future inventory orders. So for example, increasing orders for well-performing products and reducing the orders for products that are not performing well. So examples of management information systems include sales management systems. So they get input from the point of sale system. Similarly, budgeting systems is a good example. So it gives an overview of how much money is spent within the organization for the short and long terms. Another good example is human resource planning systems. So they tell you about the overall welfare of the employees or staff turnover in the organization. So tactical managers are responsible for the semi-structured decisions. And management information systems provide the information needed to make the structured decisions. And based on the experience of the tactical managers, they make judgmental calls in the end. So predict how much goods or inventory should be ordered for the second quarter based on the sales of the first quarter. So this is like um, the critical role that management information systems play at the technical management level, but they also use decision support systems as well. But in particular, decision support systems are very much useful at the strategic management level, and they are used by the senior management to make non-routine decisions. So these are unstructured decisions that we cannot plan. Um, So decision support systems use input from internal systems such as transaction processing system, management information systems, and external systems as well. So the main objective of decision support systems is to provide solutions to problems that are unique and change frequently. So there is no structure behind it. And decision support systems usually answer questions such as what would be the impact of employees' performance if we double the production lot of the factory? Or what would happen to our sales if a new competitor entered the market? So another good example is what will happen to my business if I merge with this specific organization? So these are the questions that are not um, easy to answer, but these are the strategic questions that define the direction of the business as well. So decision support systems use sophisticated mathematical models or statistical techniques. If you are familiar with probability, predictive modeling, so these are the um, techniques that are used to build solutions, and that's why they are very interactive in nature as well. So to give you some examples of decision support systems, these include financial planning systems, which enables managers to evaluate alternative ways of achieving goals. So the objective is to find maybe optimal way of achieving um, some specific goal for the business. For example, the net profit for a business is calculated using um, total sales. So total sales of goods plus expenses. A financial planning system will enable senior executives to ask what if questions as well. So what if analysis is also really common at the decision support system level. And this is how the strategic management can have an interactive um, you can say engagement with the system and then come up with a decision in the end. So just to summarize, these are different types of information systems, and depending on the management level, they will interact with these different information systems, and these systems then are laying the foundation for the others so that they can become a source for the other one. So for example, if I want to build a decision support system, I need to consume data from transaction processing system and management information system. So just to simplify things, just think about there are different types of information systems that deliver different information required by different management levels. So this is what um, I think is the key message here. Okay, so let's now move on to the next one, which is next slide, which is focusing on the information system departmental roles and responsibilities. So now coming to the information systems functional roles and responsibilities. So most of you will know that most organizations maintain positions such as Chief Executive Officer, which we call as CEO, or Chief Financial Officer, which is CFO, and Chief Operations Officer as well, which is CEO at a strategic level. But from the information systems perspective, there are information systems specific positions at the strategic level, and this is these are some of the examples that I've given you here. So starting from Chief Information Officer, then Chief Technology Officer, Chief Knowledge Officer, Chief Data Officer, Privacy Officer, and then Information Security Officer as well. So in order to understand what they do, so this is kind of a brief explanation or description that I've given with each of the roles. So Chief Information Officer is responsible for overseeing all uses of the information technology and ensuring that the strategic alignment of the information systems with business goals and objectives in the end. So CIO often reports directly to the CEO, and CIO needs to have a very good understanding of every aspect of an organization, and then how information systems can enable the business goals and also deliver the business outcomes in the end. So moving from Chief Information Officer to Chief Data Officer. So Chief Data Officer is responsible for determining the types of information the enterprise will capture, retain, analyze, and share. So the key difference between Chief Data Officer and Chief Information Officer is that CIO is responsible for information systems through which data is stored and processed, while Chief Data Officer is responsible for the data regardless of the information system. So this is the key difference between CIO and CDO. Chief Technology Officer is responsible for ensuring that the throughput, speed, accuracy, availability, and reliability of our organization's information technology. So CTOs are similar to CIOs, except that CIOs take on the additional responsibility for effectiveness of ensuring that information systems align with the organization's strategic initiatives. CTOs have direct responsibility for ensuring the efficiency of information systems through the organization. So most chief technology officers possess well-rounded knowledge of all aspects of information systems, but in addition, they have very good understanding of other building blocks that we discussed today, including hardware, software, network, and some kind of understanding of data itself as well. So Chief Information Security Officer, so that's a very exciting role in the industry at the moment, is responsible for ensuring the security of information systems and developing strategies to safeguard the systems from attack from the hackers and from different viruses as well. So the role has been, you can say, very much elevated in recent years because of the numbers of attacks and the hackers and the viruses. And typically, it was mostly um, at the, you can say, private sector, but now at the public sector because of the state level actors that are involved in conducting um, uh, hacking activities and conducting, you can say, phishing attacks as well. So this role is now becoming very important both in public and private organizations. The next one is Chief Privacy Officer, which is kind of a new role that has been um, coming, you can say, to the picture at this moment. So, Chief Privacy Officer is responsible for ensuring the ethical and legal use of information within an organization. So it's mostly from the side of ethics in terms of how we are consuming the information, how we are sharing the information is within the privacy principles of the organizations in which, the privacy principles of the country in which the organization is operating. So this is very critical in these days. Finally, the Chief Knowledge Officer is responsible for collecting, maintaining, and distributing the organization's knowledge. And Chief Knowledge Officer designs programs and systems that make it easy for people to reuse knowledge in the end. So, just the reason I am sharing all of these strategic roles which are aligned with information systems is because we're starting from the building blocks of information systems, it's really critical to understand what are the strategic roles or responsibilities that you need to understand so that once you are building an information systems, you know who are the relevant people and what responsibilities they have. And then you can categorize these to the strategic management level of information hierarchy in terms of what types of systems these C-level executives will be using. So in this case, they will be mostly using, or for sure they will be using the CN support systems to perform their daily tasks and get information about their um, jobs and day-to-day, you can say, decision making in the end. So now we have come up to the most interesting part in terms of conceptualizing contemporary approaches to study information systems. As I told you earlier at the start when we were discussing learning objectives, that information systems is a multidisciplinary field. So there is no single theory or perspective that dominates in terms of coming from the different areas that are used to study information system. So what I will suggest is let us consider the following diagram, and in this diagram these are the different fields that have direct impact on the way we think about information systems. So these that are in the right blue on the left side are behavioral approaches, and the right side one which are in dark blue are the technical approaches. So what I mean here is the study of information deals with issues and insights contributed both from the technical and behavior disciplines which are listed here. Um, So in general, what I will build on from these approaches is another term that I will introduce is in this course we are going to study information systems from a socio-technical perspective, and what that perspective is I will explain it later, but let us first focus on how each discipline treats or maybe meets with the information systems in the end. So for example, let us start with um, the computer science discipline. So computer science is mostly concerned with establishing theories of computability, methods of computation, and methods of efficient data storage and access. So this is mostly coming from the technology or the technical side. So management size same emphasizes on the development of models for decision making and management practices. Third one, the operation research focuses on mathematical techniques again for optimizing selected parameters of organizations such as transportation, inventory control, and transaction cost. So all of these management science, computer science, operation research have a lot of technical lens which is built in them. So they see information systems from the technical perspective. But if we go to the behavior approaches side. So sociologists study information systems with an eye towards how groups and organizations shape the development of information systems, and also how systems affect individual groups and organizations. So this is coming from the sociology side. Psychologists study information systems with an interest in how human decision makers perceive and use information. That can be formal and informal as well. So economists in the end study information systems with an interest in understanding the production of digital goods, the dynamics of digital markets, how new information systems change the control and cost structures within the firm. So these behavior approaches that I'm talking about doesn't ignore technology, but like information system technology is often the stimulus for these behavior problem or issues. So, but the focus of the behavior approach is generally not on technical issues. Instead, it concentrates on changes in attitudes, management, and organizational policy and behavior in the end. So, all of this information is very useful in understanding that information systems. In order to conceptualize it, it's a multidisciplinary field. And from our perspective, when I talked about we are going to take a socio-technical perspective, so I am combining both the behavior and technical approach here. So what socio-technical system is the one that recognizes the interaction between the people and the technology in the organizations, and it's also capturing the interaction between the socially complex infrastructures technologies and how they shape human behaviors as well. So again, come go back to the building blocks uh, at the start of the lecture. So we started from the people and then process and then went to the technology components. Same approach here. So we are coming from the people side and from the behavior side, and then linking it up with the technology to see how technology is shaping the behavior or changing it. And this is how we are going to conceptualize and study information systems in this subject. So now we are coming to the end of the lecture, and what I have done here is I have listed all the courses which you will learn or you will do within the business information systems major. What I want you to do is first spend a few minutes and map your study selections in terms of if you have selected this major. So think about how your approach is to this business information system major is. Is it coming from the technical side and you want to see or treat business information system from that perspective, or is it coming from the behavior side and you want to see the information systems from the behavior approaches, or it's a combination of both behavior and technical which we combined as socio-technical systems. So depending on your approach or how you understand information systems, this is the advice or recommendation that I will give to you. You will do all of these courses and then you will select based on your own interest what kind of angle or approach you want to take, and then develop your further study plan as well. In addition to this, are you noticing any trend in all of these courses? So just give it a deep thought and then come back and report on it. But just to give you a summary of the trend that you may be able to see here is some of these courses have technical lens or technical, you can say, focus on them. And some of the courses also have a lot of behavior approach to them as well. And then once you will combine these two, you will get a socio-technical lens in the end. So starting from, you can say, the very foundation of information systems, which is this subject, you will go into the detail of different flavors and study information system as a whole multidisciplinary area. And then depending on your own interest and focus, select your next courses so that you can develop on it and then become an expert in a certain area. Okay, so I wish you best of luck in terms of making these selections and grow while you are doing your degree here. But I just wanted to lay a strong foundation for you and just wanted you to understand the bigger picture, which is this, which is in terms of the courses that you will be doing and also how you will link it back to information systems. So let us summarize what we have learned today in this lecture. So first we discussed the building blocks of information systems, which were people, process, hardware, software, data, and network. And then we explored different management level in the organization and how their information needs are different as well. And based on that, we map different types of information systems to those management levels. We also analyze information systems, departmental roles and responsibilities, and particularly we focused on the C level, the strategic management level of information system roles, and we covered all of these roles and responsibilities in detail. And finally, we reviewed contemporary approaches to information systems and understood that information systems is a multidisciplinary field and it combines both the technical approaches and behavioral approaches. And in the end, the approach that we will uh, take in this course is a socio-technical angle to information systems. So I think this is what we have covered today. If you have any questions, you can post them in the lecture queries discussion forum. And if you have any comments, do write it there as well. So these are the review questions that you can practice. So these will help you to prepare for the assessment task one, which is the test going to happen in week 4. So these are very basic questions in terms of testing your learning around the basic concepts, and that's what we are covering in this course as well, basic concepts around information systems that will develop your foundational knowledge around it. So for example, what are the building blocks of an information system? In this case, you just don't need to list all of them, just list them and also define them. So for example, people, so what does people mean in the information system context? Process, define the process. So this is how you will answer this question. List 3 examples of information system hardware. So what are those hardwares, and then describe them. What is an application software? So this is again coming back to different types of softwares. Application software is an important one, so you can talk about it. The next one is describe the different roles people play in information systems. So this is going into the more detail of the role of people in information systems. So that's going into the types in terms of we discussed today: end users, business professionals, and information system specialists. So you need to know about them. Okay, so the final question is the most exciting one that I want you to focus on, and you need to do it as an activity as well. So suppose you had to explain to a member of your family now that you have gone through this lecture, and maybe to one of your closest friends, the concept of information system. So how would you define it? You need to write a one paragraph description in your own words that you feel would best describe the information systems to your friends or family. And what I will do is I will create a discussion forum. specifically for this question. And if you are comfortable, I will encourage you to share your one paragraph that you have written and maybe given as an explanation of the concept of information systems to your friend or family, and put it on the discussion board and let all of us learn from each other. The way you conceptualize information systems, the way you think about information systems. So this should be your original thought, what you think about information systems based on your understanding developed in the course so far, and please just post it on the discussion forum, and then we will have a lot of engagement and learn from each other. Thank you.